Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a meal prep video for you guys. If you're new to my channel, then I do meal prep videos on my channel every single week because I am a working mother. My husband is a working father, and it just saves so much time during the week, and it also saves us from making bad choices. So in this video, I like to try to hopefully motivate and inspire others to meal prep and just kind of batch cook for themselves or their families, so that way they can kind of do the same thing. Just always have healthy foods prepared so that way there's no bad choices involved. But I have 3 brand new recipes to try this week. One of them being a bread recipe, a keto bread recipe that does not take eggs. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the taste of eggy bread. So I'm really having some major high hopes for this bread. So as always, make sure that you stick around for the how did it taste video, because I always make the recipes in my meal prep video, and then I always follow up with a how did it taste video, so that way I can review the brand new recipes that I tried in my meal prep video. But let's jump right into this video and let's see what we're cooking. Alright, so I am going to start out with boiling some eggs. I always boil my eggs in the Instant Pot because they come out beautifully. So the first thing I do is I put in 1 cup of water at the very bottom of my Instant Pot. Most of the time I usually boil 12 eggs. I always make sure that it is on sealing, and then I basically just press the egg button. I cook them for 3 minutes, and then I let them do a natural release for about 5 minutes, and then I throw them in an ice bath for 5 minutes. And if you guys haven't cooked eggs in an Instant Pot, they peel like a charm. I know I say that every single meal prep, but it's just so true. So my husband has really been into eating eggs and avocados for breakfast. So I'm just slicing up 4 boiled eggs with my egg slicer there. And then I am going to also chop up 1 avocado. These avocados were huge. I know last week we used 2 avocados, but this avocado was so big. I mean, he really only needed 1. Then I'm just going to throw some mayonnaise in there. Last week, Oscar said he just wanted the eggs and the avocado, but I figured I would add a little extra and put some mayonnaise in there. I did throw in some salt, some pepper, and a little bit of no salt, so that way Oscar can get his potassium in as well. Then I'm just going to cut up some green peppers, some jalapenos, and some onions, because I am just going to kind of just make like a little stir fry with some ground beef and those vegetables and then some seasonings. I'm just going to saute the vegetables up in the Instant Pot, and then I will throw the meat in there as well and just cook all that together. Then I'm just going to put the Instant Pot on saute, and I'm just going to saute all these vegetables together. I did put a little bit of avocado oil in the bottom, and I'm just going to season them up with a little bit of salt and pepper. Then I'm just gonna throw the ground beef in there, and I'm going to saute the ground beef in there along with the vegetables as well until it is fully cooked. Then I'm just gonna add some more seasonings. I'm gonna throw in there some salt and some pepper. And then I'm just gonna give it a good stir again and make sure that the meat is fully cooked. Doesn't that look absolutely delicious? Ridiculously simple and delicious. So the next meal is going to be a repeat from last week. We are going to be making those pizza bites again because my daughter loved them. So we are going to be cooking 1 pound of ground sausage, and I am just going to measure out with my scale some cream cheese. I just like to let you guys know as well that all of the recipes will be in the description box below. So just go down there, click the link, and you can find the exact measurements that you're going to need for these recipes. So I'm just going to take that cream cheese. I'm going to throw it right in the pan with that sausage until it is all melted and incorporated within the sausage. Then I'm just going to dump that sausage in the bowl, and we are going to start mixing up all the other ingredients. So we are going to throw in there some coconut flour, as well as some baking powder. These are so good, you guys. Oh man, I can't speak highly enough about these. Gonna throw in there some garlic. I used to mince my own garlic. Oh, not anymore. Gonna throw in there some Italian seasoning as well as some mozzarella cheese. And it does take quite a bit of mozzarella cheese, but cheese makes everything better, right? It also takes 3 eggs. And then we are just going to give this a good stir. And then I did put it in the fridge to let it chill for about 20 minutes. And now we are just going to make little balls out of it and put it on this pan. And then we are going to bake these little stinkers. So we are just going to bake them at 350 degrees for around 18 to 20 minutes. And they came out beautifully. Next up, I'm going to be making meatballs. Some of the meatballs I'm going to keep out for the kids to eat with marinara sauce or however they want to eat them. And then some of the meatballs is going to be for meatball soup. So that is about 2 pounds of ground beef. I did throw some Parmesan cheese in there, as well as a couple of eggs. I'm also going to throw in some heavy whipping cream, as well as some garlic. Then I threw in kind of my own seasonings. I threw in some minced onion, some Italian seasoning. I am throwing in there some pepper. Some salt. And then I'm just going in with my hands and just squishing that up and mixing it very well. Then I'm just going to roll them all into balls. I'm going to throw them on this sheet pan and they're going to be ready to bake. All right, so that was about half of that batch. Like I said, I'm gonna cook half of it and just leave them as meatballs, and the other half will be for soup. But these are gonna be absolutely delicious. I am just gonna bake them at 350 degrees, and I had to bake them for around 20 minutes. But oh boy, do they not look delicious. All right, so now I'm gonna prepare the soup. So I'm just throwing in there some beef bone broth. And then I do add a little bit of water to it as well. And I literally just take the rest of the meatballs and obviously roll them into meatballs, and I just throw them into that beef bone broth raw. Trust me, it cooked beautifully. And then I'm just throwing in, that was about a half a bag of spinach. And then I'm also throwing in a bag of riced cauliflower. I'm just gonna give that a stir. I am throwing in there some garlic. We love garlic. As well as some onions. Giving it another quick little stir. And then I just seasoned it up with whatever I wanted. So I threw Italian seasoning in there, some pepper, throwing in some salt, throwing in there some garlic powder, onion powder, and then I threw in there some of that Badia seasoning as well. And then I did throw in there a half a can of tomato sauce just to give it some extra flavor. Now we're just going to pop the lid on there, put it on sealing. I pressed the manual button. I put it in there for 12 minutes. And I did let it do a natural release for just a little while. And then I released the rest of it. And again, this soup came out beautifully. Look how pretty that is. Next up is our keto bread recipe. So I am just measuring out everything on my scale because that's basically how the recipe did it. Everything was in grams and milliliters and all that stuff, so that's basically what I did. So I am just measuring out the almond flour. And remember, all these recipes will be in the description box below so you can find all the exact ingredients and the exact measurements. And it did call for some coconut flour, so we're measuring that out. This really just called for like a mix of all kinds of different flours. Then we are just going to measure out some flax meal, and like I said, we are just measuring everything on that scale because everything that they had was in grams and milliliters and all that good stuff. So I just measured out everything exactly. And I kind of like measuring it out that way because then you don't have to dirty your cups and your teaspoons and it's less cleanup. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. So now I am just measuring out some psyllium husk. I think I finally said that right. I used to always call it psyllium husk or something like that. Yeah. And now we're just putting in a tablespoon of baking powder. And then we're going to add the seasoning. So we are just going to throw in there just a little bit of salt. It did not take much at all. And now we're just gonna whisk that all together and get that all of those dry ingredients incorporated within each other. Now we're just gonna add in the wet ingredients. So it did call for olive oil. I didn't have any, so I used avocado oil. And then it does call for some apple cider vinegar. As well as some lukewarm water. And then we are just gonna mix this really well. And then after we mix that really well with the spoon, then we are going to go in there and knead this with our hands for 1 to 2 minutes. So I'm just shaping it into bread, and I put it into the loaf pan, and then I just took a little bit of water and just kind of smoothed out the top. I did let it rest for 10 minutes before baking. We are gonna bake it at 400 degrees for around 50 to 55 minutes. Just double check it with your oven. I think I ended up cooking it like 1 hour and 5 minutes. So next up, we are going to be making no-bake cookies. So this recipe seriously cannot get any easier for a sweet treat. So I did throw some erythritol in that bowl, and now I'm just throwing in some unsweetened coconut flakes. High hopes for this recipe as well, because any recipe or dessert recipe that you don't have to bake in the summertime in Arizona is the perfect recipe because you're not heating up your house. Again, this recipe will be in the description box below where you can find all of the exact measurements. So this recipe actually called for peanut butter. I decided to use almond butter instead. No particular reason, I just preferred to use it. I'm sure it would be delicious with either one, or your nut butter of choice. So now I'm just throwing in some cocoa powder. Between the chocolate and the almond butter, maybe it'll be like a Nutella kind of taste. That would be amazing if it was. Throwing in some vanilla and some melted butter. And then I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Then I'm just putting them on this cookie sheet. It did say to use parchment paper. I was out, so I used foil, and it worked just fine. So if you're out of parchment paper, foil, aluminum foil works just fine. But after I'm done putting them on there, we are going to freeze these. I think I froze mine for like a good hour before they were pretty set. And yeah, we are hoping that these are delicious. This will be in my How Did It Taste video as well. As you can see, one's already missing. All right, so that concludes my meal prep video for this week. Remember, there were those 3 brand new recipes. So it was the meatball recipe, the bread recipe, and the no-bake cookie recipe. So definitely stay tuned for that How Did It Taste video. But I hope you guys found this inspiring and motivational to meal prep for yourself and your family. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys. And don't forget to go out there and make today even better than yesterday. And I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.
On my own, but I don't know why you hit the road, but you don't realize I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when